Hello, here is a quick walkthrough of Dark Souls 3. It is far from obvious which paths to take throughout the game, and also how to build your character. I hope this walkthrough can help. If you are new to the game, I suggest you pick a class that is melee and physical damage focused, such as a knight, mercenary or warrior. In this series, I will pick a mercenary and focus on a dexterity build, relying heavily on the weapons sellsword twin blades that the mercenary start with. As the burial gift of your character, I suggest you pick a life ring that slightly boosts your hit points. Your starting class determines which items and stats you start with. For PC users, you can see your items by pressing escape and clicking the equipment button. You can quickly change these items on the run by scrolling up or scrolling down, or holding shift while scrolling up or scrolling down. By pressing or holding the F button, you can swap between using one hand for the shield and one hand for your weapons, to using both hands for your weapons and both hands for your shield. To use your weapons and your shield, simply click the right or the left mouse button. Holding down space while moving makes your character sprint. Tapping space while doing this will make your character jump, or press space alone to make your character roll. To target an opponent, face towards them and press Q. This will cause a small white dot to appear on the target, and your movesets will revolve around this target. While playing the mercenary with the sellsword twin blades, I prefer to use my weapons with both my hands most of the time and only occasionally using my shield. Doing this and right-clicking with the mouse performs an attack that swings both blades simultaneously and does a lot of damage. There are many small optional detours throughout the game, but this walkthrough won't pick up every single small item, but only focus on the major items and not the minor ones used to upgrade. In Dark Souls, you will encounter a lot of bonfires which serve as checkpoints throughout the game. When you die throughout the game, your character will respawn at the latest bonfire you rested at. You can also use the bonfires along the way to replenish your Estus Flask. In the beginning, your Estus Flask has 3 charges that can be used by pressing R and will recover some of your hit points. Here I try to aim towards the tree to land on a tombstone where I can pick up an item. However, since this fails, it's necessary for me to run around in a circle and come back and try the jump again. In situations like this, I will fast forward the video so you can make your most out of the time spent watching. Here we approach the first boss of the game. Engage him by simply pulling out the sword from his chest. Dark Souls is a game much about recognizing patterns and acting accordingly. Each opponent has specific movesets that you can counter and avoid in different ways. For this boss, I suggest you try to stay close to him and dodge his attacks by carefully timed rolls. So this is how you beat the first boss and reach the second bonfire. When you beat bosses throughout the game, you will notice a sign saying Ember Restored. This gives a significant boost to your character's hit points until the next time you die. Embers can both be restored by defeating a boss or by picking up the item Ember, which can be used with similar effects. However, being under the effects of an Ember also means you can be invaded by players from other worlds, and some of these players are interested in beating you up. Here we arrive at the Firelink Shrine. This serves as your safe zone throughout the game. Here you can level up, buy items in shops, or upgrade your items or your Estus Flasks. You can spend your souls to level up by talking to the Firekeeper. Early in the game, I suggest you focus a lot of your points into the attribute Vigor. This attribute boosts your hit points, making it significantly easier to survive. For a more detailed explanation of every stat, I had made a video about this. The Shrine Handmaid is the main shop throughout the game. You can unlock more items at this vendor by picking up umbral ashes along the way and giving them to her. Down here is the blacksmith. He can help you upgrade your weapons, infuse your weapons, and also reinforce your Estus Flask and a lot of the uses of your Estus to either recover FP or hit points. As I focus on a physical damage build, I allot the Estus charges so they all only recover hit points. To move to the next zone in the game, go to the bonfire, pick the option Travel, and go to the High Wall of Lothric. Dark Souls is a game that is full of amazing architectures, and most of the background scenery is the actual path you have laying ahead of you. Once you get to the High Wall of Lothric, I suggest you start by picking up the Longbow. This is a ranged weapon that is effective at singling out opponents, so you don't have to fight several at a time. I like to have my longbow equipped so I can easily swap my twin blades with a ranged weapon. However, equipping more items will increase your weight ratio. You can see your weight ratio in the top right corner of your equipment screen. This number I like to have below 70, as this ensures more effective rolling than a weight ratio above 70. When you encounter a treasure chest like this, I suggest you start by trying to hit it, because some of the chests only appear to be treasure chests. Some of them are really monsters that are trying to eat you. And then we light the 5th bonfire tower on the wall. As seen in the bottom right corner, we've gathered a couple of thousand souls. I suggest using these to go back and level up. The remaining souls I spent buying arrows at the Shrine Handmaid as projectiles for the Longbow. Some of the items gathered can be used to acquire more souls along the way. Here I spent souls buying a spell, just to show you how using spells work. First of all, you need to have sufficient stats to wield the spell. Here we have a spell that only requires 8 faith. Before you can use the spell, you need to attune it. This requires attunement slots. By default, you start with 1 attunement slot. The number of attunement slots can be increased by having more of the stat attunement. To cast miracles, you need a talisman or a chime. To cast sorceries, you need a staff or a catalyst. And to cast pyromancies, you need a pyromancy flame. Here I equip my chime in my main hand, so I can swap my weapon with the chime, and then cast a miracle. However, it might be a better idea to have your chime in your offhand, so you can swap your shield with your chime, instead of swapping your weapon. Down here, you should be really careful not to pull all your enemies at once. Here our longbow comes in handy. Here we find an Estus Shard. This is one of the most important items in the game. This is an item we can use at the blacksmith to increase our charges on our Estus Flask. Also, we find a Titanite Shard and a cell key that we can use to unlock an NPC prisoner. So now we've made a small detour to get this Estus Shard. Now we want to go back to the bonfire and rest to replenish our Estus charges. Either we can do this by walking our way back or using a homeward bone. A homeward bone is an item that can return you to the last bonfire you rested at or to the Firelink shrine. I'd like to provide a few more details about leveling up. Therefore, I will explain each of the attributes you can choose. Adding points in vigor increases your health pool and your frost resistance. Adding points in attunement will increase your FP, and it can also increase your amount of attunement slots. Having several attunement slots will allow you to have several spells attuned simultaneously. Adding points in endurance will increase your stamina and also increase your lightning and bleed resistances. Vitality increases your defenses, your equipment load, and also your poison resistance. Strength allows you to equip some weapons and shields. It increases the damage with some weapons, and it increases your fire resistance. Dexterity allows you to equip some weapons. It increases the damage of some weapons. It reduces your spell cast time, and it reduces your fall damage taken. Intelligence improves your spell's potency. It improves pyromancies and sorceries, and it also gives you magic defense. Faith increases spell's potency, and it gives you dark defense. Luck increases your item discovery, and it also increases your bleed, poison, and curse resistance. The weapons in the game scale to different attributes. For example, the sellsword twin blades that we have equipped scale to both strength and dexterity, with a E and a C ratio respectively. Some weapons also scale with both intelligence and faith. Having the blacksmith perform an infusion on your weapon often change these scalings. For example, a heavy gem infusion on a weapon will increase the strength scaling on a weapon. To perform an infusion on your weapon, you need both a gem and you need to give the blacksmith a specific coal corresponding to your desired infusion. These coals and gems can be found throughout the game. The blacksmith can also reinforce your weapons. For example, the sellsword twin blades can be upgraded to become +1 or +2 all the way up to +10. This usually requires a small amount of souls and either a Titanite Shard, Titanite Scale, or Titanite Slab, depending on how high a rank you wish to upgrade.
No, you're from far away. You must be Samantha Hampkin, the remarkable, but not the home of an old woman, please. I'm not asking for charity. I'll be sure to. I may be a petty thief. What do you say? Very well, I do.
To avoid getting detected in Dark Souls, you have the ability to sneak in on opponents. For PC users, you do this by holding down the Alt key. Throughout the game, you will meet opponents with red glowing eyes. This means the opponent is tougher than the usual opponent of the same type without red glowing eyes. Here you encounter an NPC called Emma. She gives you the small Lothric banner and allows you to join the Way of the Blue Covenant. I suggest you join the Way of the Blue Covenant and equip the insignia you got from her. In Dark Souls 3, Covenants are organizations you can join that can allow access to special multiplayer action and special items. After you've joined the Way of the Blue Covenant, it will allow you to receive aid from the Blue Sentinels or Blades of the Dark Moon if invaded by another player. From here, the next stop is the boss, Vordt of the Boreal Valley. If your Estus Flask is empty like mine, I suggest going back to the bonfire to refill it, either by running back or using a homeward bone. While playing against Vordt of the Boreal Valley, I find it effective to stay close to him and try to stay behind him. For this reason, I use Q to keep my target locked on him, while being very aware of every move he makes and being ready to roll. Generally, I have a playstyle where I don't like to use shield as much, but prefer to roll out of the way instead. Every once in a while, he stops up and starts spewing ice mist out of his mouth. If you get hit by this, you will start seeing a frost bar appear. If this one fills up, you will be affected by frostbite. Reaching frostbite will cause you to take damage, will cause you to take increased damage while affected, and will cause you to regenerate your stamina more slowly. Defeating Vordt grants a lot of souls, grants his specific soul that can be exchanged for an item, and unlocks the 6th Bonfire. To exchange the soul of the boss for an item, you need to speak to Lothric of Corland at the Firelink Shrine. However, you need to give him the transposing kiln to be able to buy items from him. The transposing kiln is obtained after beating the next boss, which is the curse-rotted Greatwood. We are now reaching a point where we got multiple choices of what equipment to wear. As mentioned earlier, I suggest you stay below 70% in your equipment load. If you exceed 70% of your equipment load, your character will start fat rolling instead of rolling. Your backsteps performed by pressing space will be slower, and your stamina recovery rate will decrease. Similarly, if your equipment load goes below 30%, your character will start rolling even further. However, this will not affect your character's stamina recovery rate, and will of course make your character more squishy. Being equipped with heavy gear usually increases your poise. Poise is a stat that determines how easily you will be knocked back and interrupted in your attacks. Additionally, some weapons, shields and spells, such as stone or iron flesh, also increases poise. To get to the next area, the Undead Settlement, we need to go to the Vordt of the Boreal Valley Bonfire, and then place the small Lothric banner that we got from Priestess Emma. Here you will find Yoel of Londor. You can accept the service of this pilgrim, and this will give you the ability to visit him at the Firelink Shrine. Here you have the option to make Yoel of Londor draw out your true strength, which gives you a level up and increases your hollowing. This can be done up to the point where you have 16 hollowing. Hollowing is a special stat that can make your character look more zombie-like, and can increase your luck if used in combination with a hollow infusion on your weapon. Later in the game, you also have the option to reverse hollowing, which can be done after the Firekeeper's soul is turned into the Firekeeper, or by using a purging stone at the statue of Velka. Here you will find Cornyx the Pyromancer. If you talk to this guy and accept his service, he will spawn at the Firelink Shrine, where you can purchase pyromancy spells from him.
chosen one.
There is a giant bombarding this area with spears. This obviously makes it very dangerous. We can, however, make peace with this giant at a later point, and this will allow us to safely recover the undead bone shard that is laying on the platform without getting bombarded into the abyss. Here you find the Mortician's ashes. This is an important item as it unlocks more items in the shop of the Shrine Handmaid. Here we have our next boss encounter, but before going in to fight him, I suggest you open up the door behind you, which is a shortcut back to the bonfire cliff underside. When fighting the curse-rotted Greatwood, there's an amount of minions that will attack you. However, I suggest you ignore these, as the tree will kill most of them. However, when starting the fight, I suggest you take out the one with red eyes, so this guy won't come and backstab you. At first, the curse-rotted Greatwood seems very tanky and almost untouchable. The key to getting him down is to hit his small white sacks. When hitting these, you quickly damage the boss, and when they explode, he takes even more damage. If you keep this up, you will reach a point where you upset him so much that he will smash down in the floor, and the floor will break. Don't worry, you won't take any fall damage. Now you're in the second phase of the fight. As you can see, the boss have now grown a creepy looking arm out of his belly. This makes the fight a little bit harder, since the arm is much quicker than the rest of the tree. However, this arm is vulnerable to attacks just like the rest of the pale spots on the tree that isn't covered in bark. It isn't necessary to hit the arm in order to kill the boss, but it is an option. After defeating the boss, you get the soul of the curse-rotted Greatwood and the transposing kiln that you can give to Ludleth of Corland. Once you hand over the transposing kiln, you're now able to buy unique items from Ludleth of Corland. Going back to the Firelink shrine, I suggest you also go to the Shrine Handmaid, give her the Mortician's ashes. This will unlock more items in the shop, and then purchase the grave key from her. This concludes part 1 of my Dark Souls 3 walkthrough. Thanks for watching.